Flags are flying at half-staff across the country in honor of one of New York's very own, a child of Jamaican immigrants who became a four-star general and Secretary of State. We're talking about Colin Powell.
The funeral services for the soldier turned statesman who was born in Harlem and raised in the Hunts Point section of the Bronx are still being planned. Joining us this morning to share her personal recollection of Colin Powell is the former ambassador and presidential advisor, Dr. Suzan Johnson Cook. Ambassador Cook, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, and my condolences to his wife and family.
Yes, ours too. You and Mr. Powell shared a lot in common. Both of you from the Bronx, both served as White House fellows. So how often did the two of you cross paths, and what was that interaction like?
Well, we had both things in common. We both were born in Harlem and also raised in the Bronx. So when we met, I was a White House fellow, 93, 94, and my colleague Rod Van Lipsey was his White House fellow, and I was President Clinton's White House fellow. So he was certainly all in the news, but he came and sat with our class. We used to have lunches where we would sit and learn and glean from the world leaders, and he came. He was so personable, and so then I stayed in the Clinton administration another 6 years, and our paths would cross often. Certainly he would come to meet with the president often, and then there were many times I was on the president's initiative on race and we had to sit together. But it was right towards the end of that tenure that the 100 Black Men of New York, who was then President Luther Gatling and Reverend Jacques de Graaf, nominated me to receive an honor next to him. So at the Hilton Hotel, I'm sitting next to Colin Powell.
My goodness.
Amazing.
My goodness. And obviously, the history shows Colin Powell broke so many glass ceilings, right? First Black Joint Chief of Staff, first Black Secretary of State. You're talking about sitting next to him at an awards ceremony, right? I can't imagine that you guys didn't have so many conversations. What were some words of wisdom that he maybe imparted on you?
Basically to focus, stay focused, but also to have some fun along the way. He was a military leader. He was the best in the room. He was a diplomat, but he also had a sense of humor. And so up on the stage, he was cracking jokes and we were laughing. And so it was warm and personable. And also his best advice was always to prioritize your family. Make your priorities your priorities.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, Colin Powell attended City College, which he visited often and which is now home to the Colin Powell School of Civic and Global Leadership, where his legacy will continue to live on. The dean spoke about how he'll remember Colin Powell. Take a listen.
He will be remembered as a trailblazer, as a leader, as a role model, somebody who believed in the nation to his core, who was not a partisan figure, but really tried to be a pragmatist and a problem solver and bring people together. He saw the best in everybody, and he did it with humility, a humility that, somebody with his accomplishment, you wouldn't always find.
So I'm curious to see how you felt about him as a person, what he was like. I mean, he described himself saying it was easy to exude authority while also putting others at ease. He was just so human to everyone.
Yeah, I think human, humble, and strong. The combination was incredible that he could be all of that and then, serve at the capacity and at the level that he did. He never let it go to his head. He always was trying to make a way for the next generation. So what you heard the dean talking about was a next generation of global leaders that he was always pouring into, just like we were the White House fellows in 93, 94, yeah. He was pouring into us. So that was the combination, human, humble, and strong.
In his book that he wrote, My American Journey, there was one thing that stuck out at me, which I have trouble with, but I often go back to reflect, which he often said, his number one rule was it ain't as bad as you think, it will look better in the morning. And then his second thing was get mad and then get over it. Two things that I think so many people should live by. There were so many people who admired his thoughts, right, his advice in the military, but across the board, he was even contemplating a possible presidential run. Do you think he made the right choice by not running for office?
The choice wasn't up to us. The choice was his. And I think, yes, he did make the right choice because he prioritized his family. He had talked to his wife and family and knew the toll that it would take on him. He had accomplished so much. And so when Barack Obama became president, he celebrated. He wasn't trying to say, I should have been the first. He was, here's the one that's supposed to be in this seat. Just like I was supposed to be Joint Chiefs of Staff and Secretary of State. He crossed, the lines. He made sure that he talked to everybody across the races, across the parties. He was like, I am Colin Powell. I speak for myself. And so I think he made the right choice because it was his choice.
Ambassador Cook, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, and especially today to get your perspective on Colin Powell. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.